Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to bear witness to the marvellous magnificence which is the latest Virtual Stadium Tours video. Please remember to keep your hands and fingers off of the screen at all times to avoid impairing your viewing pleasure. Thank you very much for watching.
And so today we are going to be taking a look around the Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton in Canada. It is the home arena of the Edmonton Eskimos of the CFL, the Canadian Football League, of course the Canadian equivalent of the NFL, which is the American Football League. And as always for you, the first fact I have on this arena is its overall capacity. And since it was opened in 1978, it's had several different overall capacities due to different expansions and renovations, which I will tell you about in due course. But the overall capacity right now today is just over 56,000, with a record attendance of just over 63,000. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about the construction and improvements of the stadium, seeing as I've already mentioned that. As I've stated, this stadium itself was opened in 1978. It's been renovated in 2001 and 2008 and expanded in 1982 and 2013, each for different reasons, which I will get into. The initial construction cost was around 20.9 million Canadian dollars, which, if you translate it in today's money in 2017, is around 72.5 million Canadian dollars, with the expansions totaling well over 200 million on top of that, which means the total cost in 2016, if you are to add up every single amount it costs to upgrade the stadium each time, totals out at around 265 million Canadian dollars, which is actually quite a lot. But considering the stadium's been around for rather a lot longer than many other stadiums of this sort, hosting Canadian football matches, it's probably about right for the amount of time it's been around, this stadium, considering that some of the newer ones, although cheaper initially, haven't had the many renovations that this stadium has had to have. So let's then first talk about the building of the stadium. Now, there was a stadium in Edmonton called the Clark Stadium, which was opened in 1939 and was built on a 38-acre plot of land. However, as Edmonton, the city in Canada, applied to host the 1978 Commonwealth Games, it was clear that they'd need a new stadium to sort of host the main attraction of the event. And so that's when the proposed plan to build a 40,000 seat venue right next door to the Clark Stadium was designed and proposed to be built. One of the main public groups to back the building of this new stadium were the fans of the Edmonton Eskimos, the CFL team, which I've already mentioned. However, the local residents did quite hotly protest the building of this new stadium. They didn't really see the point of spending so much money on something that they already had right next to where they already had the old arena. And in turn, after many sort of public after many public meetings, it was deemed that the Eskimos would have to pay quite a large chunk of money towards the building of this arena if it was going to happen, and they were going to use it after the Commonwealth Games in 1978. And they agreed to that, which meant that the arena could be built, and they put a huge amount of money into it. And it saw excavations start in 1974, and they needed to remove around 400,000 cubic meters of earthwork just to get the foundations in place so the stadium could at least begin to be built. And this was seen to raise the cost even more, as it was slightly more excavation than they were expecting to have to do, and it meant the cost of building the stadium rose by about 2.5 million Canadian dollars, and it saw the building of the stadium actually put back by 8 months, so it was open 8 months later than it was initially planned to be. However, despite all of these setbacks, the construction of the stadium was actually completed within budget and on time, with an initial capacity of 42,500 seats, with a natural grass turf, and that was, of course, mandatory for them hosting the Commonwealth Games, was to have a natural turf in there. However, it didn't actually take long for the first expansion of the stadium to take place, only 2 years in fact, because in 1980 the overall capacity of the stadium was increased to just over 43,000, and during that expansion sort of renovation there was also slight works done to the roof to try and make it better for the stadium, for the arena itself. And then we move on to the next renovation, which actually took place in 1982, because Edmonton was selected to host the 1983 Summer Universiade, And so the stadium needed expanding because of this, which means in 1981 the City Council of Edmonton approved an 11 million Canadian dollar upgrade to the venue, which actually saw over 18,000 new seats put into the stadium, which rose the overall capacity then to around 59,900. And through slightly few more tiny renovations after that, in 1983, when the event actually took place, the overall capacity of the arena was over 60,000, very just. But moving on again to another expansion of the arena, and again it's another giant sort of event taking place which forced the expansion, because in 2001 the World Championships of Athletics was actually going to be hosted in Edmonton once again, which means that the stadium needed another facelift, another renovation at a cost this time of 24 million Canadian dollars. And this saw many new sort of features or upgraded features added to the stadium, including a new facade, an enlargement of the concourse, improved lighting, a new scoreboard, an all-new all-weather running track. So many upgrades were needed for this arena once again to host a big international event. And so now we move on to the final expansion of the arena, because in 2009 the stadium once again underwent a renovation period or a facelift, depending on what you want to call it, at this time a cost of 112 million US dollars, later being raised by a further 12 million US dollars in 2010 when they replaced all of the seating in the arena. But this again in 2009, the 112 million facelift including the main investment was a field house, new locker rooms, a hosting area, and 2 floors of office space. So again, another huge expansion took place to the arena. Okay, now let's move on and quickly talk about something I haven't spoken about for this arena yet, and that's international soccer, or as we call it in the rest of the world, football matches, have taken place in this arena. In fact, the Canadian men's and women's national teams have both played several games in this arena, the most famous of which probably being when the Canadian men's team drew with Brazil, the Brazilian national team, 1-1 in 1994, in front of an attendance of around 51,000. And following on from that, of course, the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup took place in Canada, in which this stadium of course did take part and hosted several matches once again, including a quarter-final match, a semi-final match, and the third place playoff match, in which England beat Germany 1-0 to come third in the tournament. Of course, I believe the US eventually did win that tournament. As well as all of the soccer matches which have been hosted in this arena, mainly international of course, there have been a few international rugby union matches hosted. Mainly the 2006 Women's Rugby World Cup was hosted at Edmonton and its suburbs, and this stadium actually played many of the big games for that tournament. So it's hosted international rugby as well as international football, as well as, of course, like many arenas like this around the world, it's hosted several sort of music concerts down the years, and bands or performers including the likes of Pink Floyd, Beyonce, David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Metallica even, U2, Willie Nelson, Taylor Swift, Bon Jovi and One Direction have all had concerts in this arena, many of them for selling out to record attendance of around 65,000. Anyway, that's all I've got time for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Thank you for watching this Virtual Stadium Tours video. If you enjoyed it and would like to see every new video this channel uploads as soon as it uploads them to the interwebs, why don't you press the subscribe button down below this video right now. Goodbye.